So without any delay, I'm very happy to have Charbel with us. And if you can give him a big round of applause.
Thanks a lot, Fadi, for the introduction. Guys, thanks a lot for coming. I'm really happy to see you all here. I'm really excited about this talk. Actually, I met Fadi like a couple of months ago at a different co-working space at Urbanista, and I introduced him to my work, and he got really interested in my work, and he said, why not giving a talk about responsive web design? So yes, here we are. For those who don't know me, my name is Charbel Jamous. I'm a creative director at Diwani. I'm also one of the co-founder of Leptivity.com. And I also work as a design consultant at GT Logic. I don't know how I ended up here, actually. It was a random experience for me. I started my studies in '98, and it was only on the second year of universities of my studies when I started working as a HTML developer. And it was a really nice experience. We used to, these are all these softwares. We used to do HTML programming on front page. It died a lot long ago. And also on Macrometer Dreamweaver, which was acquired later on by Adobe. And I was really surprised that the company used something called Hot Metal, which I have no idea what was it. And it was like building HTML websites, table-based, creepy websites. And back to that time, there was only two browsers, Internet Explorer and Navigator. They also died, not Internet Explorer. So just before I start, I would like to start with a small video. It has nothing to do with responsive, by the way, but just a second. Okay. So yeah, so basically they gave Walkmans to kids, and they asked them what was the devices, and you're gonna be surprised. I'm not gonna show you all the video. I'm gonna show you just a couple of minutes, and we move back to the presentation.
We're mixing it up on you again.
Okay.
You're not watching the video.
I'm so scared.
You're reacting to this.
Oh, what the? Oh, what is this thing? I have no idea what it is. What is this? I don't get what it is. What do I do? Press play? I don't know what it does. Question time!
So, do you know what that is used for?
Walkie-talkie. Speaking into it. Music. A boombox. Wait. It's a cassette player, right?
It actually is a device that plays music.
Oh. So maybe we'll play music today?
Oh, here, radio, AM, FM, stop, play, okay.
What are you talking about? You gotta be kidding me.
But how does it work?
I need to find on. Oh, wait, I see. Wait, what?
Where is the... Yeah!
I feel so judged right now.
What the?
I did it!
I don't hear any music.
I don't know what to do now.
You open it, put the cassette inside, close it, and then you press play.
You actually need something else to get it to work.
Oh, come on, that's cheap. Really, guys?
Cassette? Yes! You actually need a cassette.
Oh, what?
Do you know what a cassette is?
No.
No.
So we have a cassette.
I've never seen this.
Ah. Ooh, are these like in the movies?
So now how does it work?
Do you do this?
I know I have to open it. Nope. How did you put it in? I am not going to give up. I'm a survivor.
All right, it's a 7-minute video. I'm not going to show it to you, but let's go back to the presentation. Actually, the reason is the reason I'm showing you the video is just to tell you that how technology is shaping our way of work, and how technology is shaping our future. Actually, a couple of years ago, I was in Barcelona and I attended a really interesting presentation. It was about science fiction movies, the way they used to show some devices in old science fiction movies. Like this movie is Metropolis. It's like 1927, and the guy is making a video call with his friend. So basically, he's using a phone, he's using a screen, and talking to his employee. And that was science fiction back at that time. And like a couple of weeks ago, I was watching also Captain America, and I remembered the fact that how science fiction are introducing new interfaces and devices. I don't know if you have watched it, but one of the scenes they show Samuel L. Jackson going into his car and start talking to the interface, and then information were floating and popping up to his front window. So yes, technology is changing, and we have to adapt to this fact. And it has changed a lot. It has changed our industry. It has changed the way we deal with content and we deal with design. In 2007, Steve Jobs introduced iPhone, the first iPhone. And it was the first mobile with a browser. Before 2007, we used to do website only for the desktops. So we used to have fixed width websites. And after that, everything has changed because we have to reconsider websites for mobile. Like for instance, The Guardian, if you look at it, they had to create another website for mobile. So basically they have created a website for desktop and another website for mobile, which is really bad. We're going to talk about it later. But it didn't end here, because later on, more devices were coming, were showing up, and we have now like lots and lots of devices. We have the iPad, the mini iPad, other mobile phones, and maybe the Kindle, and different screen sizes. So we have to deal with this fact that we have more devices coming, more screen sizes coming, and we had to adapt to this change. So that was the web before 2007 or 2006. And this is the web right now. The web is spread across all these devices, and we have also to adapt to this change. So what is responsive web design? Before going into responsive web design, Tim Berners-Lee, who is the founder of World Wide Web, he said that the web should be accessible from any kind of hardware that can connect to the internet, stationary or mobile, small screen or large screen. So what is responsive web design? Responsive web design, as a definition, is the design in which a site is crafted to provide an optimal user experience across all devices with a screen. So yeah, once we have a browser, once we have a device, everything that is online, it should be accessible through these devices. This is what responsive web design is. If I want to give you a really simpler version of responsive web design, we can start resizing our browsers and see if we have responsive web design. For instance, if we go to any other website, I'm going to show you some examples. Let's say one of the websites is a list apart. If you look at it, it's mainly content. And if you start resizing the browser, you're going to see how the content is being adapted to the viewport of the browser. So basically our mission is to design a website that is accessible, because we need content. I mean, every time you go online, you're looking for content online, whether be it a mobile phone, an article, a mobile number, an article, anything that is content. It should be catered for all these devices, because content is really important. In 2010, I have met John Alsop. He's one of the founders of something called Web Direction. John is one of the pioneers in the web design industry. And in the year 2000, he wrote an article, a very interesting article called A Tao of Web Design. And this article is considered like the manifesto. Like it's considered like a manifesto. A list apart, for those who don't know, a list apart, it's like, for me, I consider it like a Bible for web design. You can find a lot of articles, interesting articles about web design. So John also wrote this article. In this article, he said that the control which designers know in the print medium and often desire in the web medium is simply a function of the limitation of the printed page. We should embrace the fact that the web doesn't have the same constraints and design for this flexibility. But first, we must accept the ebb and flow of things. What John means in this statement is that before we used to design, I mean, in the old disciplines of graphic design, we used to design for canvases, for print papers. But for the web, it's a whole different story, because we're designing for a different medium. And to design for a different medium, we basically have to understand the medium. This is another quote, and another interesting quote. It's by Jeff Levine. He's he used to be the CEO of Typekit, and now he's one of the Adobe team. He said, day by day, the number of devices, platforms, and browsers that need to work with your site grows. Responsive web design represents a fundamental shift in how we'll build websites for the decade to come. So basically, doing responsive web design is not designing for today. It's designing for the future. And according to some numbers, 12% only of the top 1,000 sites are responsive. And of course, this number of websites is going to grow with time. Now, we know what responsive web design is, but why responsive web design? All right, so we talked about what is responsive web design. Now we're going to move to talk about why responsive web design. I know that maybe most of you are web design experts, so you might find some of the information really repetitive for you, but I'm sure that you're going to benefit from the talk. I'm going to be sharing also my experience in designing for responsive. So, and also we can talk after the presentation about your experiences. Okay, so why responsive web design? And this is basically addressed for designers and startups, startup founders. Okay, so if you remember the slide I showed you before, it's the Guardian website. Basically, before that, we used to do desktop. Again, we used to do one size of a website. And we moved on to do mobile websites. Now, with responsive web design, we're going to be definitely reaching a wider audience, because we're going to be reaching all kinds of devices and all kinds of screen sizes. I don't have a lot of insights on the region, numbers in terms of mobile, but what I certainly know is that smartphone penetration is really high in this region. And of course, in the West, it's definitely high. So people are accessing more and more the websites from tablets, mobile, and other devices. So now, if you're designing for a website as a responsive web design, so definitely you're gonna be catering for all kinds of devices. So you're definitely safe in terms of future devices. Other thing really important is that definitely Google loves responsive web design. So you have one URL. You can access the website through this URL across all devices. And of course, it's a better user experience, happy visitors, and better conversions. And here, allow me to tell you about personal experience. Actually, it's not a personal experience, but at Diwani, we have a website. It's an e-commerce website. And this website was only made for the desktop. We looked at the analysis, and now we have like 55% of people coming to the website from mobile. So now we're reconsidering designing the website as responsive, because we know that it's going to get us better conversion. So if you have an e-commerce website or any kind of website that needs conversions, I mean, responsive web design is definitely your solution. Again, updates and upgrades. Well, if you're going to update a website and you have to cater it for all kinds of device, definitely responsive web design is your solution, because you're going to be updating the website once and for all, and it's going to be updated across all the other devices. It really depends on the kind of website that you are building, because for startups, let's say if you have a website that you're going to be launching, there's a different kind of websites. The content-heavy sites, the personal sites, and the consumer sites. Consumer sites could be like e-commerce or any other kind of websites. Web applications, just take for instance Facebook or Google Plus or any kind of web application that needs more interaction. Now the talk is going to be more directed to designers. So if you are a designer, I think there's a lot of people here who are web designers, right? Who's here? Who's a designer? Oh, okay. Who's a designer / developer, other than Ribal? Okay. So if you're a designer, you should definitely know HTML. And if you are a guy, it's not how to meet the ladies. It's HTML. And if you are a girl, I really need you to start loving HTML and CSS. You don't have to be expert in developing front-end websites, but it's definitely really important to know HTML and CSS. Because again, if you go back to the article I talked about, the John Alsop article, it's very important to understand the medium that you are designing for. So basically, it's very important for designers to start learning HTML and CSS. They don't have to build heavy websites and hardcore development, but it's very important to understand how stuff works. Again, for designers, it's very important also to understand that responsive websites are made of 3 main ingredients. We have fluid grids, we have flexible media, and we have media queries. I'm going to talk about each one of them just quickly, and then we move on. Fluid grids, of course, before we used to, if let's say you're designing a poster or you're designing a magazine, you set your own grid, it's fixed, and it's there, and you start building your layout, you start doing your composition. But now with responsive, because the canvas is not really fixed, you're going to be doing something called fluid grids. And fluid grids are grids that are going to be also responding to the browser viewport. There's a lot of tools online that you can use. One of them is Golden Grid System. I can show it to you just quickly. Okay. So this is if you are actually designing and developing at the same time. You can go there and explore it. There's a lot of features there, but you can benefit from the fact that you can build your own grid, and it's flexible. If you can see it right now, it's gonna be, the grid is gonna change according to the screen size. And if you are developing a website that is responsive, you definitely need this. Okay, other than the flexible grid, okay, the media queries. Media queries are the set of rules in CSS that we set for screen to adapt to different screen sizes. So let's say you have this website which is responsive. You can see how it changes according to the screen size. It's a simple rule in CSS that you add, and your website is going to be opening responsively on all these devices. Media, the flexible media is basically how the images and videos are going to be shrinking and expanding according to the viewport. I mean, if you look at this example, you're going to see that images are also shrinking with the browser size. It's very important to design content first. I mean, designing without content is really bad. This is a personal experience. I try to always design with real content. Real content helps us a lot designing good websites. And this is a really interesting quote by Jeffrey Zedman, who was one of the also pioneers in the web design. He said, "Content precedes design. Design in the absence of content is not design, it's decoration." So whenever you have a client, do not use lorem ipsum. Ask them to give you content. Content is really important to start designing and to start doing your layouts. You can always build your own grid. I have showed you a lot of examples on, no, not a lot of examples. I've showed you the golden grid example. But you can also set, there's nothing wrong with setting your own grid and start designing on it. You can create your own layout, your own composition, and define your grid. One important thing also is to define your breakpoints. Now for designers, if you don't know what breakpoint, I mean, you should know what breakpoints are. Breakpoints are the main screen sizes where the design changes layout. Let's have a look at some example. Let's say I'm going to take relativity, for example. Okay, someone's excited. Okay. So this is relativity. Now the website is at 1021 pixels. So I'm going to try to shrink the browser. Now the layout is not changing. Everything, content is flexible. Okay. At this stage, we have a breakpoint. We have content. Actually, no, not really. We're still in the same breakpoint, but the content is pushing down. And if I start also continue shrinking the website, you're going to see that the layout breaks. So this is a breakpoint. Whenever the layout changes, it's a breakpoint. Okay, so this is the mobile version of relativity. Okay, again, so it's one website, one URL, and the content is adapting to the screen size. It's very important for you to start choosing your breakpoint. And for startups, let's say, if you have a product, you have to really think about the main breakpoints that you need. I mean, you can have a website that needs a mobile version, and you can have a website that needs both mobile or desktop version. So we're going to talk about later on for the startups, and I'm going to explain it more. This is for the Latin websites, because unfortunately in Arabic we don't have a lot of choices for Arabic web fonts, but for Latin websites we have a lot of examples, and we have a lot of fonts. Choosing your fonts is very important, and it's a fun way of doing it. There's also a lot of tools online that you can benefit from. We have Google Fonts where you can choose your own fonts, and it's for free. It's also very important to test your fonts on the browser, because I'm pretty sure that most of you suffer from this. They use fonts on the Photoshop file, and then they move on to the browser and they see that there's a lot of changes. I mean, the way the browser renders fonts is really different than Photoshop. For the Arabic websites, we don't have a lot of choices. So basically, we have Google Web Fonts. We have a couple of options that you can use. I really hope that that the choices of fonts are gonna grow in the future. I don't know if you're familiar with SVG, but now with the screen sizes, with the choice of screen sizes that we have, most of the screens are Retina display, let's say for iPhone and iPad. So also it's very important to use scalable vector graphics, because if you're going to use images, they're going to be looking pixelated on the screens. So SVG is gonna make you put vector files in the browser. Lectivity, you know it all. But it's good also to talk about the Lectivity. Lectivity actually is a different kind of website. It's not heavy content. It's not a blog, and it's considered a consumer website, but it's a really different thing. It's a mix of web application and content. Why? Because the design of Lectivity is really different from other websites. If you go to a website where they can deliver the events, you won't find something really similar. It's based on a different user interface. It's a calendar. So we had the challenge to create the mobile version and the tablet version out of the desktop version, because we designed this in, I guess, 2010 or 2011. And 2 years ago, we went online with Lectivity, and we have decided back then to create it as a responsive website. And I have designed the Lectivity website as a desktop. So I had to create the mobile version, and then create the tablet, and then create the desktop version, which is kind of a wrong approach, because if you go online and check some articles, they say you should design mobile first or develop mobile first. What it means is that you start with the mobile and you start stretching your design to reach the wide desktop version. Why that? Because if you're designing for mobile, you're going to make sure that you're going to have all the essential content and all the essential features in one place. So my advice for you, and my advice for myself also, is to start designing mobile first. And this is a challenge because we're not used to it. We're used to design only desktop websites. There's another example. It's a really interesting one. This is a product for GT Logic. It's not for mass people. It's intended to be for insurance companies. So it's a web application. If you just think about the traditional the traditional application for insurance or banks, this is really like an advanced one, a more futuristic one, because the idea of Umbrella, the name of the application, is to create insurance software web-based, and it's also catered for all kinds of devices. So this is the mobile app, the mobile version, sorry. This is the tablet version, and this is the desktop version. It was a really challenging for us to create it. In terms also of development, it took a lot of time, but it was an interesting one, and we have learned a lot from it. What we have done actually is to define the pattern of the application. We have created a layout for mobile, a layout for tablet, and a layout for wide screens. And a very important advice also is to think of cards. Cards are really helpful when you're designing responsive web designs. For instance, if you see this screen, this is one of the screens. This is one of the modules actually of the application. What we've done here is we took one card and we start to think responsively how this card is going to expand. So basically, if you resize the browser, this is what you get. And if you're going to resize it more, you're going to get here. You're going to have another card. So this is also very important. It's also important to start defining your style sheet. And this is something you have to learn along the way, how to deal with developers, because it's very important to be really close to your developer. It helps a lot, especially in the responsive web design. If you're only a designer and not a mix of designer and developer, it's very important to be working closely with your developer. You know all the debate about designers and developers, so you have to get over it. Okay, so this is basically for designers. There's a lot of tools online that you can benefit from. This is not a tool, basically this is a website where you can check if a website is responsive. You type in your URL and you hit go, and then you will see that this is something I used for the presentation. So basically you can see that how the website is responding to all the screen sizes. Responsive, the name of the website is amiresponsive.is. This is another also website called Responsivinator. And it's also you type in your URL and then it will show you how the website is looking on different screen sizes. Another website called responsive.is. Basically open your website, and if you can check the top bar, you have the desktop, the tablet, the mobile, the landscape mobile, and the small mobile. So it will show you how the website is going to look on these different devices. Okay. If you're looking for inspiration, this is a good library. It's called mediaqueries.es. You can check it out. There's a lot of good examples of responsive websites, just for inspiration. A couple of weeks ago, I have discovered something really interesting. There's a software now that is being developed. It's called Macau. And I was trying to play with it. Actually, it's a software that you can start doing your designs directly on it, and it will create your HTML and CSS file. This is an example of a website, of the One Is website. Actually, I was designing the website, and then I discovered this tool, and I wanted to try it. So I have moved into this software, and I started designing in it. It's like designing in Photoshop, absolutely. And then you have to learn it. There's a lot of tutorials online that you can learn from it. What's good about this is that you can define also breakpoint here and start defining your CSS styles. It's very good if you're designing a simple website. It's very good if you're designing a prototype. It helps you a lot because you're going to be designing and you're going to directly previewing it on your browser. So basically that's for designers. For startup founders, you have also a set of advices. It's very important to not freak out. Responsive web design is really interesting. You just have to understand if you need it or not. I mean, if you are a startup founder and you have a certain product, just make sure that you need responsive web design. You don't have to do it because it's a trend. It's a whole approach. And it's never too late if you want to adopt responsive web design. It's definitely not too late. So just, again, make sure that you need it. Make sure that your business or startup needs responsive web design, and start to think of including it into your digital strategy. And if you are, again, a startup, try to hire good designers and developers. That would definitely help you coming up with a good product. And there's nothing wrong about shipping your product. If you have a product and it's not responsive yet, it's okay to ship it. If it's not buggy, do it, and then you can iterate along the way. Now the last part of the presentation is basically the debate of the decade. We have seen the responsive web design, how it works. There's a whole debate going on right now. It's whether we should adopt responsive web design or go native app. If you're not sure, like this guy, there's a set of pros and cons for each one of the approaches. For responsive web design, it's definitely a lower cost because you're going to be developing one website. You're not going to be developing a website, an iOS application, and an Android application, or Windows application. It's a single URL. If you're designing a website with content, it's one URL. You do it, you develop it, you design it, and it's opening on all devices. It's definitely simpler and cheaper marketing. It's also definitely speedier updates because you're going to be updating one website. You're not going to update the website, and you're not going to update your mobile apps. Like I said before, you're going to be reaching wider audience because, again, people are accessing websites from any kind of devices with the screen, definitely. So with responsive web design, you're going to be reaching a much more audience. Number 6, I'm not really sure about it, but I hope that's true. Basically, it's easier to hire web developers for responsive web design. Because if you want to hire web developers and mobile developers, it's going to be really hard for you. Number 7, this is really something really important. I'm going to show you a showcase later on about how you can package your website to be a native application. The cons are it doesn't work on all browsers and devices because not all the devices have good browsers. Doesn't incorporate all smartphone features. If you need to use a website to upload images, to check in for GPS or something like that, you definitely cannot do it in a responsive web design. Of course, it cannot work offline, so you need internet connection. Now, if you want to do a native app, you have to understand also its pros and cons. Pros are that, and this is something, by the way, that we're having with activity.com. Like every time we meet people, they ask us, why you don't have a mobile application? And we start to discussing this issue with them and we ask them, why do you think we need a mobile application? So because we find it on App Store and it's easy to click on the dashboard and go to the application. Definitely we need a mobile application when there's a need for it. But it's also true that most people are more familiar with native application. They go on the App Store and they search for an application and they download it and start using it. It's a better user experience because it's faster on your mobile to have a native application. You can use all the smartphone features and you can benefit from organic inclusion in app stores because you're going to get more exposure on the app stores. You can work with it offline and you have it installed on your mobile. The cons are the cons basically is that you're going to be developing mobile application for iOS and Android. It's really time consuming and there's a lot of money to invest in it. And of course, every time you need to update your application, you need the approval of the App Store. Marketing strategy, yeah, maybe. This is another example. This is not a mobile application. This is not a responsive website, it's a mobile website. If you go to forecast.io, you open it on your browser, it's going to behave as if it's a mobile application. It has the feel and the interface of a mobile application, but it's done using HTML5 and CSS. The good thing about this application is that they don't go into app stores to publish their application. You can open it, use it, and then if they want to update it, they update it without asking you to update your application. One last thing is that there's no secret recipe, of course. Again, for startups, if you want to design responsive web design, it's really fine. It's fine to do it now if you need it. Again, there's no secret recipe for designers. You can just try to understand the headaches and the joy of building websites that are gonna be definitely be done for the future.